All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm here once again with my amazing friend, Robin Nordling, and we are really excited to be back this week to pick up kind of where we left off about all things parenting, the journey inward, self, and everything here, there, and in between. So, welcome, Robin. It's great to see you again.
Yes, thank you for having me, Kelsey. I'm very excited about this series of chats that we're having and going into examining what it is to be a parent from the spiritual aspect, and not only that, the human aspect.
Mm.
Most importantly, the human aspect. And as we found, to navigate the human condition with the greatest amount of control over the outcomes of our choices, we found that this spiritual application of viewing the world has really benefited. And Kelsey and I have been applying this to our parenting as well. And today we'd like to go into how do we include ourselves, the individual, along this journey. As we know, we've chosen to have these children. We wanted them as a part of our journey. Before having them, something's missing, and we say, hey, children are going to fulfill that. And a lot of us find ourselves, okay, the children are taking away from what I was doing. And once the children are taken care of, then I'll get time for me. And well, when we operate on triage, um, and we're told to be self-sacrificing because this is a good virtue, well, we sacrifice ourselves and put our children first every time. That's being a good parent, but a good parent according to who, Kelsey?
Mm.
And according to what? What mindset does that logically make sense? How good are you if you sacrificed all your life and you're not there when your kids are older and need that guidance? Um, They're real questions we have to ask ourselves. We've witnessed our parents and parents' parents, grandparents. I, for one, never knew my grandparents, my grandfathers, sorry. I was blessed with many grandmothers, and I still have them. Um, and I'm very blessed for that. But how do we ensure that we as an individual are nourishing ourselves along with parenting and finding a balance? I, I for one believe that is the greatest example we can give our children, is for them to see that we take time to maintenance ourselves, our emotions, our thoughts, our bodies. And with that allowance, they see it as normal, a normal condition to grow with under, to form an allowance for themselves when they have hurt emotions, when they have excited feelings. There's a place for all versions of self. It's when we have an inner conflict with ourselves, it'll show up in our parenting. It'll show up in the way we, well, treat the reflection in our children's eyes. And is that fair to our children? So we got a lot of questions that we as the parent can ask. And in doing so, we may not like the answer,
Mm.
but the answer is going to be that step that gets you to the next level of, I don't want to say control over your destiny or control over the outcomes, but a clearer idea of how you're creating them for yourself. And thus, your choices will be affected, and the result will be you're choosing your outcomes more often than your outcomes coming to teach you what you failed to choose. Um, so, life is very interactive.
Mm-hmm.
Parenting is such a blessing. But as Kelsey, my beautiful friend here, has dealt with, parenting can be overwhelming. And when our twins and toddler were all under 2 years old, my wife and I experienced life being overwhelming just due to the needs and children not really wanting to sleep and the sleep deprivation that the human self has to endure, that sacrifice of a good night's sleep for the mother and the father, and the continued role to go out of the house and participate in the work world and come home and support. And then the inescapable, I want to term this appropriately, the inescapable bubble of nurturing that a
Mm,
mother cannot get a break from when they are the center, when they are the nucleus of the cell. The father can go out and go accumulate resources and get a mental break from the high pitched noises, the constantly being needed. The mother finds it very difficult if there's not a balance, if there's not conditions that exist that the mother has time and permission at some point. So, Kelsey, how have you incorporated yourself because of the spiritual journey? What changes have, I know what I've witnessed, but you, yeah,
there've been
some
a lot.
did.
There've been a lot. I mean, I've been on my spiritual journey for a long time, since I was a teenager. So, well before I had kids. All of my kids are under 5. I have 3. I also have a set of twins and then a single. And the biggest thing and the hardest thing for me was admitting that I am indeed overwhelmed and I do not always enjoy playing that role of mom and having to admit to myself that I lost my identity. And what did that mean? What did that mean for me as a parent, as an individual, and how, as a wife, and how to kind of navigate that. And it was a really sticky spider web of picking things apart because, of all the conditioning, the societal pressures and societal expectations. Um, we don't hear mothers saying, I need help. I need to work on me. And not it, there's this subculture that it's, well, go take a yoga class, go get a coffee, go read a book, go to a spa. Like that's a band-aid, in my opinion. People would say those kinds of things to me, and I knew that it was coming from a place of care and concern, but it was it just seems so trivial and just so uh, saccharine sweet, if you know what I mean. Like it wasn't fulfilling. And I've
Fulfilling. Sorry to interject there,
no, not
but
at all.
yes, it wasn't fulfilling. That is the key.
Yeah.
And when are we taught to fulfill our deepest personal desires? Uh, that inner voice that says, I'm here to do this. I'm here to feel good about me doing this and the world knowing me for this. My talents being unconditionally shared through this venue. And when someone has that confidence, when someone has that, they feel fulfilled. And many of us have grown not knowing that we can fulfill that void ourselves, or we're meant to.
Yeah.
And our only idea is, well, it is having a family. It's playing a role, being a part of something greater than myself fulfills me. And that is it. You become a part of something greater than yourself. But when you find yourself a part of it, the heart doesn't get to see what the eyes see. The heart doesn't get to feel what the emotions feel. It has to tirelessly work day and night. Be the center of it all. be subject to the crazy ideas of the mind that send the heart into overdrive, be subject to the great depths of the emotion that cause it this tearing, crushing feeling. The heart feels both, but has no control over what the mind or the feelings will throw at it.
Mm.
And as a woman, you're looking to, and as a father, as a parent, we're looking to become centered, we're looking to become complete. We didn't know about this initiatory process of self completion through the godly natures within, masculine, feminine, and the union of the two, the child. So, as that child desiring to be fulfilled in the heart, we grow into a woman or a man and we say we feel separate now. We're not that child. So it's the child I'm missing. So we look to find that opposite of us, knowing that that's the perfect recipe to create the child. That's the blueprint of reality, but we've misunderstood it. We have enough consciousness to be self aware, but not to really understand the mechanisms and apply it to ourselves. But we're learning through the ages, through the epochs, and through the transitions are the most difficult. But as these children within are finding their voice, as adults, we're finally admitting, hey, I am not the role, and the role is not fulfilling.
Yep.
And there's something really missing. And with that missing part, what I thought my children were supposed to bring me, I can't get connection to. They're there. I love them. Yes, my feelings feel it. My mind knows it. But somehow it's not grounding. They're not agreeing and it's not fulfilling.
Yeah.
And are we supposed to have our children fulfill us in life? Is that really their role? I know none of us at our age want to fulfill our parents' ideas, do we? We don't want to live with dad and start.
Definitely not.
So, so we do have to examine why we believe our infants or babies are meant to fulfill us. Or is this something deeper going on? Is this something that we get to learn as parents through watching our children grow and watching their identities form, that they are their own being? And it is our privilege and pleasure to get to watch them grow, to get to hear them call us mom or dad. For those are the acronyms for father aspect of God, mother aspect of God. And the mother takes on that heart of the family, that role physically. It's very easy for the mother to believe that in order to have my heart fulfilled, I become the heart, the center of the reality. My children's emotions matter most, and satisfying my husband's ideals of what it is to be a good wife or a good housekeeper or a good provider, good spouse, um, whatever it is, to match that in which he's going out of the house to bring in that energy. So you want to accommodate that as well, and you want to accommodate both of them and say, I'm the center for you both, but then you're being pulled in both ways. The kids, your relationship. The relationship was meant to complete us. Because when we went binary for the first time, I realized you're a woman or I'm a man. We go, oh, we need that opposing force. It will complete us because I'm alone. And the opposite, unifying with it, will complete me. We don't know why it'll complete us. So we get together and it feels good, and we have endorphins and dopamines and things we can release through contact and love. And these are good, but then that doesn't fulfill us. So it's, oh, what can we create together that will fulfill us? Okay, the first child didn't fulfill us. Maybe we just need more kids, because seeing the kids have brothers and sisters, that will be fulfilling, seeing them play, seeing them in an environment. So we're playing God. We're saying we want to create, and then we want to provide an environment, a big cube, welcome to the universe, in which everything will rotate around this woman, this heart, this center, this sun. And they'll all be planetary bodies of different charge. And they'll all feed off of the sun and the light out of this mother. And that's not meant to be the role of the human. That's not meant to be our role. It's disembodying our consciousness in the makeup of the universe and putting it into the external and saying, if I sort it out in my clay project, then I'll understand why it happened and I'll know the secrets of the universe. No, you're just playing with a diorama. And it's a knockoff made out of cardboard and drywall and garbage compared to the framework that's allowed nature to exist. We don't grow houses out of a seed. But what we do is the seed for a house. Sorry.
No worries.
I'm home alone and I've got this. And the windows are open and they see the neighborhood.
Just defending their turf, that's all.
That's right.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's their nature. So yeah, speaking of nature and that blueprint, the blueprint for a house is literally a drawing. And someone has to conceive of that in their imagination first. And that comes from your DNA and its ability to connect your source code information, which is light. Without it, you wouldn't be aware or conscious. But because you can connect with that, you can bring creation into reality, and we can design a home and say this home will have rooms, little boxes inside of the big box for my kids to fit in. Then they can have their little orb of influence, their little sphere of reality, their little planetary body. And the more rooms I have, the more planets I have. And they all have their own personalities. They all affect us differently, and they can come together in alignment every meal time. When everyone gets nourished at the same time by light, by information. And so we're really just reproducing this of reality over and over again, because we are God. We are that consciousness. And we are participating on this level because on this level, we're on this threshold of perfect balance where it could go one way really bad. It could go the other way and we would never know bad again. Yeah. But because it's on this fine balance, we have access to both. We can dip our fingers into both fluids, warm and cold. And because of that, we can download information of both the currents and the effect that has on us, hot water or cold water. And in our mind say, I like one better. But you know what? If I was stuck in this one all the time, this one would be the ultimate release. Like if you've ever done a cold plunge or something, you've been in hot springs for a really long time, jumping in that cold water, though it's a shock to the system, there's a bliss, a dopamine release when you engage your endocrine system in that way. And it's actually very healthy for you and rejuvenating. So we release hormones to stay young, because when we're releasing hormones, it says we're having fun. Our purpose is being fulfilled. Therefore, what is being experienced is good. Therefore, it does not need to change. So we create more of those moments. And getting lost in parenting can be, okay, tomorrow it's going to be the perfect moment, or the weekend. We just got to get through the week, and then the weekend's going to be great. And the kids all have their activities and sports, and you drive around and, oh, it was busier than the week. And Sunday you're exhausted. And week after week goes by, and 52 of them in a year, and you're experiencing endocrine burnout, adrenal burnout. And that's just having kids with extracurriculars. That can happen. Kelsey is dealing with damage that's occurred that's in her children that's prevented them from comprehending the external structure of reality. Therefore, they're not adapting to it as normal kids would, whatever normal is. So they're not learning that conformity equals reward, therefore get more reward. It's, no, I express myself, why are you not accepting it? And we can't conflict with that programming because that programming is self-directed. And if we try to shut that down, we are shutting the self down. It's not correcting behavior, it's actually repressing soul's expression. So the type of parenting that Kelsey's engaged in is a multi-layered. I refrain from using the word dimensional because there's so much talk of dimensional reality, and this is not woohoo.
No.
This is reality that we're living, people. We don't escape it.
No.
There's no grander giant spaceship that we all live on and life is perfect. If so, it's a giant artificial spaceship existing outside of the cellular organism called the mother, the natural womb, that provides everything that we can ask for. So you want to escape Garden of Eden to live in a prison cell up in the sky and have beings that are way more powerful than you, tell you what to do with your life because they're good. So brainwashing is really real. Psychological conditioning is very real.
Yeah.
That's why Hollywood, that's why politics, it's why we have all of these ideas that grip our sacral chakra and cause a big endocrine system release. And we feel good when the bad guys get theirs because we're safe now. Okay, so safety has two requirements. You identify the ones that are going to harm you, and then you eliminate them. Welcome to the Nouvelle Dota. I am your host. So yeah, we do have to be careful. And sorry to get off track there, but in completion, before committing to a godly act, believing this act of God will create that fulfillment of feeling at one with God. And on a level that can offer you that fulfillment, should you be able to see and have that ability to touch that experience, because it isn't with the eyes and it's not with the fingers. It is with the energy field of the body. And the body has to be honored. If you don't have access to your full emotional capacity, if you're too afraid to get angry, if you're too mad to get sad, you're exiling parts of yourself to the island. And there it will remain until you decide to cross that channel with ego aboard and all.
Well, I think,
yeah,
I mean, that speaks to the root, no pun intended, of kind of what we wanted to talk about today. It's that balance, and it's so important in all aspects, but especially once you are a parent. And I'm not talking about balancing, work life and school and all that stuff. I have been blessed, and I am in the unique position that my children are they are a very blunt, in my face mirror for me. All three of them are very distinct and unique, and they reflect back to me some very interesting aspects of myself that I have ignored, hidden, locked away. And I say I'm blessed because I've had to look at it. I see it. I see what I have been ignoring and what I have not yet undertaken on my own spiritual journey, playing out in the physical, externally from myself, in my children. And it was the only way that I was going to look at myself. Just in the past couple of weeks, the acknowledgments I've had to make and the acceptance I have had to have for these aspects of myself, it's been very difficult. But it has made me a more capable parent. It has given me an observatory perspective. Even just, most recently, one of my twins, he's very willful and very stubborn. And if you tell him the sky is blue, he will fight you to the death that it is red. And those who know me well know that that is an aspect of me 100%. And I've really had to look at that, because I could see that in my attempts to have him do normal kid things, get up, get dressed, eat, what have you, clean up your toys, it was a battle of wills, and it was very quickly becoming either I let him run wild and develop a superego, or I crush this beautiful little soul that I called into my life. And it's something I'm very mindful of, because it was done to me. My parents were not conscious of it. It was just, the way that it was done. That's how parenting was done. But it was, you will obey, you will bend to my will, you will conform. Otherwise, we will not praise you, and our love is conditional. And, I had to face that just this morning in a conversation with one of my parents. And it wasn't a bad conversation, and there weren't hurt feelings or anything, but I went, wow, there are so many instances in my memory that I'm realizing now at 40 years old that they did not have the capacity to love me unconditionally. And look how that has carried through. I have become so unbalanced. And if I wasn't doing the work that I was doing, if I did not have kids with the challenges that I have, it would just perpetuate. And I was able to kind of interject and take a minute. And I had one of the best days with my son that I have had in ages, because I accepted. Okay, in your world, that sky is red. Fine. Who am I to argue? We'll work around it. We'll accept it, and we'll talk about the grass instead, and
That's right.
It's hard. It is not, it's not an easy thing to look yourself in the mirror and look at all of the dark parts, the parts that you hid, that you forgot about, that are very much affecting how you treat your family and your children. And do you really want them looking in the mirror 20, 30, 40 years from now and facing the same things? I know that I don't. I know that Robin and Leia do not. It's why we've chosen to do this work. And, I shouldn't even call it work. It's our lives. This is our lifestyle. This is how we embody our godly nature, is we are willing to look ourselves in that mirror. We are willing to sit with ourselves and go, yeah, that's a conditioned response, and I don't need to exhibit that. It can stop with me. Or why am I Why does XYZ that my child is doing irritate me so much to the point where I want to leave my house and scream? Because it's not their behavior. There's something more. And we're willing to look at that something more.
Yeah.
And it helps us on our own journey come closer to being in that balance, that 0 point, that being able to say, yes, I have this role as parent, and I have this role as Kelsey, and I have this role as wife, but they are not who I am. And the freedom that brings, the ability to even conceive it, I'm still working on fully embodying that, but just being able to say it out loud, to conceptualize it, it's freedom like no other, because now it's okay. All of those standards and conditions and expectations and ideas and beliefs, they don't apply. Slate's clean. I get to be whatever I feel I need to be in that moment, irregardless of what's going on or who I'm tending to or helping. And it really has given me the ability for more patience and to be able to see things from their perspective, and continue to stand for them and be the voice that they don't have right now. They're still very young and everything else, and in the society we're in, we have to be. We are the first line of defense between them and having their soul basically crushed.
That's why I'm here today with you, Kelsey, is that I believe this is the most important work in changing the world.
Yeah.
And this is speaking directly, to Ed here. The way we change the world is through making room for our children's expression and their own self-discovery, and understanding that where we were repressed, it helped us grow. But can we offer our children the opportunity to grow, not through retrospect, but through experience of self early on? And Kelsey, with her understanding that her children aren't meant to complete her, now that just freed them up from fulfilling all these conditions. Because in order for them to fulfill you, well, they got to be good kids. And what's good kids? Well, not noisy when you don't want them to be. Well, good luck. They're kids.
Yeah.
I can't control my dogs. You know what I mean? Like, it's their nature. You're going to whip them and then make them afraid of their own nature. That's the risk. And is that not why we were looking for completion? Because we were afraid of our own nature and believing that a better one was outside of us. One that was more worthy than us. And if we could attain that and train ourselves and adapt it to us, then maybe we're more worthy. And maybe if we do a good job of parenting and we prevent them from feeling the pain we felt, then we'll be worthy. So who are we looking to be worthy to? In the eyes of what? Exactly. And what is... is it Liam that you're speaking of?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, he's not wrong.
No.
The sky is every color except blue, and that's why light refracts off it and reflects off it in that way. So in a way, yes, it could be every other color but blue, and that's why we perceive it to be blue, because it's the absence of that frequency allows an interference pattern to be seen with our eyes. So there we go. The lack of something allows an imbalance that creates energy that's now perceivable. Otherwise, it's just combined light until it's separated. So now we know the nature of God, everyone. So we are that. But yes, we are separate, and we feel that. We don't see it. We we see it in the form that your threshold is your skin barrier, mine is my skin barrier. But any intuitive or energy worker will tell you the skin is only the beginning of your threshold. It's just like saying that first layer of atmosphere on the earth is all you are, or the crust is all you are. Oh, there's a lot inside, and there's a lot of atmosphere and pressure and sensitivity on the outside. Electromagnetism, heat, generated fields. It's pretty amazing learning to move chi energy through your body. When my body didn't work anymore, I learned to create electricity through Qigong. And that was one of my big secrets. I loved Kung Fu and breathing and moving energy through my body because it was so weak I could barely make it up the stairs. But if I took these deep breaths and oxygenated my body and focused, all of a sudden I felt strong and I could use my muscles. I could put my mind into that quadricep and it would push and I'd lift my whole body up a stair. Pretty sad that I needed to be pushed to the brink of physical depletion and destruction that far to develop that ability, but I would have never learned to because the world is filled with such convenience and abundance. And why is that? It's filled with a bunch of loving parents that don't want their kids to suffer. And now we've got a world of adults in Pampers. In fact, there's one in presidency right now. So we see that we've done it to ourselves, and now what is it going to take to undo it to ourselves? Well, this is what it takes. It's taking getting honest with why we're upset as parents, with why we're upset with ourselves, why we didn't feel like it was balanced, and why we're taking action on that. I worked in jade mining for a few summers, and 3-4 weeks away from my kids while they were growing, that became too much. So I adapted. I knew, okay, I have a gift. I'm fixing people at camp. Why don't I just get a certification and then start fixing people for money instead of mining, and start massaging? So that's what I did, and I was able to be at home and make just as much. And then there wasn't the travel and the risk of flights, airliners and helicopters. And like, it's rare, but when one of those crashes, it's rare that you survive.
Yeah.
and I've got a family, and the mine beside us, I was, what was I, 27 or 29 at the time, or 30. I just turned 30, I think. Or 29, and a guy just like me, excavator operator at the other mine site. We had a lot of rain, and an embankment just wouldn't support the excavator anymore, and he was working, and the thing goes down. And because of our world of convenience, socialized healthcare, there's all these calls of who's going to cover the flight out for his injuries. Because BC healthcare, our socialized health industry, always fucks the person on the ambulance and air medevac and say, oh, actually, because this one criteria here, oh yeah, you didn't fulfill that, so no, we deny your coverage, so you're stuck with a $3,600 bill. And this has happened lots to these mines and other people where it's like, well, why did we had coverage? We pay our insurance. Like, why do we have all these regulations, and why do we have to be level 3 first aid on site and all this? And if the people telling us to have these certifications and regulations aren't going to give us coverage because of a stipulation, it is so crazy that they let this guy lay on the ground with an internal bleed they didn't know about for a few hours in shock, going cold, because he thought he was okay. He was just a bit banged up, but hit his head and had him stabilized. Did they?
Mm.
He's in shock. He's not stable. If he's got a head injury, he's not stable until you know his brain isn't swelling inside. So anyway, long story short, the guy didn't make it. It's 40-minute flight both ways. By the time they finally were okay, someone's going to pay for it, okay. Or I think they just decided, okay, we'll just pay for it and try and get reimbursed later, but that never works, but whatever. But the guy didn't even make it back, died on the flight back. So I knew the risks of myself being out there and driving rock trucks with 30 tons of jade in the back going up inclines like that in low gear and rainy weather, and knowing that rollovers and embankments are really big and accidents happen. So it's your ability to make choices based on your instinct and intuition at the time that keeps you alive. So I wasn't worried about that, but my instinct can't do jack shit on an airplane with no parachute or a helicopter that is in the mountains and something goes wrong and you hit so hard that's it. So I knew that I needed to take action in being a parent, being a father. Bringing home money isn't what it's about.
No.
Being active in my kid's life is what it's about. So I started massaging, and we ran a business, my wife and I, and her dance teacher, and our acro teachers had other things going on, and so I got certified to help out as well. And then it turns out, oh my gosh, I'm really good at it, and I took over acro teaching, and I'm my own kids teacher for acrobatics, teaching them really fun stuff. And those aligned actions created a place where I'm so fulfilled as a parent, and I'm such a part of my kids' life because I made steps to incorporate them into my life. But I didn't know better until I was out reflecting, out in the middle of nowhere, hearing God pretty loud and clear because it's just you in the wilderness. It was pretty amazing, the spiritual progress, being away from family that caused. And it caused me to mature quickly. And the vanity of mining and making money and the big score and all this and being on even a TV show, it was no thanks. I need to be with my kids and be one-on-one in a massage room at 10:30 at night, helping a client figure out their issues, knowing that if this person can love themselves, their kids have that much of a better chance in life. And because of that, I'm changing the world, not through being some character on Discovery Channel or something. It's not to inspire people through that, because what are people seeing? Because I'm Robin the father first. That was a neat experience, and I was lucky to get to hang out with those worldly individuals. And it was an experience. And what's interesting is that I foresaw it as well when I was young. So I didn't know what it was. I thought I was just going to be in the right place in the right time. As you know, I'm pretty psychic. So I've foreseen a lot of things in my future. And I even told people this. I don't know where it's going to be. I think I'll be like an extra on a movie one day or on a TV show. I'll just be in the right place at the right time. And I'll be some kind of backgroundy character. And yeah, I took a mining job, and then like, by the way, Robin, we're gonna shoot a show. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Don't get on my tail if it cuts production. And they'll go, no, we understand. It's gonna kill our production having cameramen following you around, but do what you can. So that's what we did, and it was fun. They're great people. I love them. Who I hung out with. We were a walking comedy show. So that was a family. That is a family. Those individuals that they filmed, and it was family dynamics. And even there was a fatherly role, there was a motherly role, and then us crew were the children. And you saw that dynamic in the show. That's why it was unscripted. The very few that are out there. And that's why I honored those people. They're a part of my family. Kelsey, you are a part of my family. Those that participate in our spiritual space, we are our own family. And then we have our own families that are biological. And then we've come from these families that have all this bloodline lineage and trauma attached to it that we're trying to sort out because it was the end of karma. So we had the wheelbarrow load to deal with. It loaded up over the generations and it dumped. 2019, like, welcome to reality, everyone. And everyone's left to sort out their heaping pile.
Yeah.
And we do it through our own completion. Those of you that haven't had children yet and are working on completion before then, consider it a great blessing. What I had to go through out on building sheds, building boxes for my fellow employees and family members to live in, building boxes. I was really depressed, knowing that my wife was home alone with all our children, doing it all, not getting a break, being that heart, beating nonstop. And yes, I had to look at myself and really reflect as a father. And Kelsey, you're really reflecting on what it's taken from you to be that heart. And should you be bitter? Should you be offended? Is it the world's fault? Is it your fault? Is it your kid's fault? Should someone be at fault? And what can be gained through opening your heart to the feelings that you've stored as a result? That's what becomes ultimately freeing, is that you get permission to hurt.
Yeah.
And maybe speak to that, because I know that's what you've just come through, is allowing that physical pain to manifest. And this is why many shy off that journey right before they start to get to the real work.
Yeah. It's no joke, for sure. It's, kind of every hurdle, everything that I went through up until now, that always felt like the worst thing and the worst thing. And, but to be able to sit with myself and cry and scream for 2 and 3 hours at the sheer fact that I was angry. I was angry that my children were injured by their childhood vaccines and were labeled autistic. I was angry that this happened to them and that I now had to deal with it. I was angry with all of the appointments, and that my husband at the time was doing the best that he could, but was ill-equipped, as was I, and we were at each other's throats, and that it almost destroyed our marriage and our family. I was mad that I had to deal with all the questions, and I mean, I could go on and on and on. I had no concept of how much pain and anger and bitterness this human form can hold. And that's just this lifetime. What I've been charged with as part of my journey is there is a lot of ancestral lineage healing to be done. And, it literally felt like every woman in my history that I came from was standing around me screaming, begging, demanding that I let this go, that I feel it, that I dared myself and allowed myself to feel it. Because if I didn't, I'd go nowhere. It would destroy. I guess honestly, I'd have to say it would have destroyed me. It would have destroyed the essence of who I am and who I came here to be. And it would have trickled down. It would have continued. And the it manifests physically. I mean, it's different for everyone. I was having severe chest pains. I messaged Rob and I said, my body's going into shock. I went stone cold. I was shaking. I kept having to get in really hot showers. And I had to talk myself out of it. And, having worked with Robin and heard and known his story, I think God knew what was happening this time. It had happened once before with a huge release, and I was at least able to, but and it took 4 or 5 days, and it was just over and over again. You wouldn't know. I would never know what would set me off. I mean, I was sitting there watching Moana with the kids, and it just unbridled anger, and then the tears, and and
Quite a show.
it is,
All right.
and
Journey right there, everyone.
yeah, it's not for the faint of heart, and it's not something you can just dip your toe in, and it's not something you can half-ass, and it's not anything you can expect or plan on or orchestrate or think you know what you're getting into, because it is going to be different for everyone. But it's the most rewarding. It is the most important. you know I know I wouldn't be where I am right now if I didn't have my kids and I didn't go through everything that I went through, and I'm grateful for that. But it is the single most important thing that we can do for ourselves and for all of us collectively, and where we're headed collectively, is we have to look at ourselves. The inner work, the self-love, it's something that we are conditioned and taught that it is selfish, it is wrong, it makes us bad people, it is arrogant, it's vain, and it's been twisted and inverted into this, like I said, go to the casino, have a spa day, buy a new car, go clothes shopping. It's not, that is not self-love. It's external distractions. It's looking for more fulfillment outside of self. The only way is in.
Yeah.
And it's painful.
It is. It absolutely, and this is, we're taught about the autonomic nervous system, and it's going into shock. It's having someone hit your knee and your leg kicks. It's
Yeah.
Your body's pre-programmed responses that gives rise to a form of consciousness we call the ego. And when one goes beyond polaristic beliefs and thinking and ideas of self, they encompass more than one pole of themselves. And in doing so, these opposites come into conflict, and when they attempt a unionship, you can easily go into shock.
Yeah.
And it's in moments of great vulnerability, but great clarity on the spiritual aspect, the soul, and then a big revelation of the human and the pain that the human has held. That is that big release, and the endocrine system gets overloaded. And because we're continually working in all times, this is work right now. I want to express how important it is for Kelsey on her journey to speak. Blue chakra, every color but blue.
Yeah.
Every emotion but the emotion blue can be expressed through that chakra space. And because of that right hip, and the ability to plant firmly what you're going to create into the world and believe in it, that is coming into your capacity. And when you speak of the shock and the trauma, I'm holding my adrenals right now, my kidneys, and it is extremely painful. And you have also experienced that. Yes, it is painful. Yes, in the only way.
Yes.
Um, It's not easy. It's akin to opening up a closet stored full of razor sharp lawn darts, and they come all falling out, and you're trying to catch them and put them back in, but every time you try to catch one, it's a stabbing pain that
Yeah.
takes your full attention.
Yeah.
And you're fully gripped, so much so that your autonomic reflex system cannot react to anything but that, and then is in a cyclical loop of short circuiting, and you find yourself in shock. The only way to get out is to establish a new ground. You never had a ground for that type of energy, so when you first access it, you don't have an appropriate ground.
Yeah.
So consciousness and the direction of it and moving it through the body, and that was part of my initiation to get a physical body able to have a job and work full time and support myself and help others around me. I needed to facilitate that. So I facilitated a ground in my physical body through willpower, through spirit, through breath exercise and mental conditioning. So when I became aware of my human traumas and emotions, when they started to release, I had techniques and grounding rods available. I only needed to connect them. And the breath was the connection. And that is the permission for that connection to the grounding rod to happen. And the grounding rod is your nervous system. And your nervous system is triggered by your ability for that communication between your breath, the thymus gland, the diaphragm, all working together with the hypothalamus, and thus affecting the heart rate and your desire for more oxygen, depending on the circumstances. So we can take back control of that, and that's actually what's being asked of us going through these physical human conditions, is that we take back accountability for the human body. It is not a vehicle, it's not a rental, it's a prized temple in order to honor every room and open every door and let light into every room. But light will only go there with directed focus, which is consciousness. And through our spiritual work, I've helped Kelsey direct her focus and consciousness not into what's right and wrong and what's appropriate for her to do to most safe for the human. It was to look inside and say, why are you looking for safety? Why do you believe the outside is threatening it? And there we exposed the blueprint of disempowerment, the blueprint of self-doubt. And that was the cause of the doors being closed to self-love in those rooms. And yes, opening them has given you access. And consciously, you have to re-access that area and be accountable for everything, that all that bitterness, all that pain, all that anger, and realize, oh, it wasn't my mom, oh, it wasn't my dad, oh, it wasn't the other people. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for playing your role.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know. And with that, I let them go. Yeah. And I'm not holding them anymore. And once you make that connection, you may dry heave for a few days. You may get diarrhea. You may, your body will flush whatever substance you've been pulling out of your food in order to vibrate at that frequency of resentment, bitterness, hatred. And it's going to be like a black sulfur. Look at that. Of course I've got black sulfur.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. So it's salt. It's a black salt, but that's sulfur is, and then I've got the true sulfur as well. So these are elements that have Ooh, yeah, I feel that a lot in the
Sorry.
glandular system. The yellow powder, right? I feel it in the gland under the armpit there, and in
Mhm.
the so the black is it's this turned essentially. It's this done its when it's done its job, oxidized. It's the oxidized sulfur, and oxidized is it's been exposed to that caustic content, that idea, that
Yeah.
light, that vibration, and that's why we'll need to pull those sulfurs out of our food and store them in the body. And that's why the body will crave bitter elements to counter that, to treat the kidneys. But you have to be careful because you have to be gentle with your organs. You can't just slam them. And surprisingly enough, the best thing to take is a form of sulfur, white sulfur. It's called MSM.
Mm.
And one of our viewers, we've recommended that too, and it's a great supplement for anyone suffering from any fascial condition. Anyone that knows of glucosamine should know of MSM. And whatever you take MSM with, it boosts the effectiveness of it because it makes your cell walls more permeable, gives permission for that waste exchange, so you'll flush more readily. And Kelsey, through going through these flushes, is finding herself more stable,
Yep.
less ups and downs, more tolerance for the children and their ups and downs, and less triggers. Um, and with that, you get clarity to not be just accommodating the out of balance version of self all the time. You get to accommodate what is the scenario really saying right now? What is my child really looking for? And is it appropriate to provide it? Or are they at an age where they need to learn to provide it for themselves, and therefore it's appropriate to teach them how to provide it for themselves?
I just want to add in here before I forget. It's really allowed me to be able to let go of those mother housewife expectations. It's let me, no, I'm going to play Legos with the kids. Those dishes can wait. Well, we'll have pancakes for dinner. Not a big deal. I'm not going to spend the next hour and a half in the kitchen worrying about XYZ. The laundry will get folded. Who cares? And it's that alone has been huge in making such a difference. It really has. I mean, they're not being triggered, because there were days I was literally dropping to my knees on the floor with my hands over my ears because my nervous system couldn't take the noise, which thankfully does not happen any longer. But the all of the little life annoyances, or necessities rather, they're not have tos anymore for me. I don't have to do anything other than sit on the floor and play dolls with my daughter or listen to her sing, the the Frozen song for the 9th time in a row. I don't have to be doing anything else. I'm blessed to be a stay-at-home mom, and it's huge to be able to give myself that gift and my kids that gift, and it's rubbing off on my husband. He does work outside the home, but he's excited to come home now. He doesn't dread walking in the door knowing that I'm 2 minutes from breaking my teeth from gritting them so hard, and the kids are out of control. And he's excited to go change in them and build things with them or wrestle with them, or whatever it is that they're doing. And it doesn't matter. Nothing else matters in those moments. And that's the gift. That is what family is supposed to be. That ability to just be present in the moment, loving each other, accepting them, all of us as we are. The kids, and it goes both ways. They accept us as we are. They see mommy crying, or Killian, God bless him, mommy, you have angry eyes. Yes, I do. I am very angry right now.
Lymphath.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I get a pat on the arm and he toddles off and it's, he's not scarred for life. It's fine. And, 5 minutes later, oh, you have happy eyes now. Yep. Yes, I do. And he's able to conceptualize emotions better now. Now it's not just this hurricane of emotions in their heads and in their bodies. It's helping them be able to categorize for themselves what they're feeling. That's a big deal for kids with autism. It's a lack of, or a perceived lack of, inability to feel or understand. And I don't see that with my kids. It's just not, I don't refer to them as autism out in my autistic in my day-to-day life, because it's crap. It's man-made. It's nonsense. And, and I see that it is nonsense. They feel, they are the happiest, most affectionate, loving, and it's not because of me. It's just who they are. Right? They're getting permission to be all of that. They can have their tantrum and scream and cry. It's okay. So can mom. And it's okay. That's, if there's any secret to having a family and being a parent and being successful, that's the secret, is accepting all of it for yourself and for them. And it's all okay.
And accepting that their role in life is to consciously reconnect. Though that circuitry that, because of the injuries, wasn't allowed to be completed. And that's it. It's not that they're not feeling, it's that they don't have the language to express it. Exactly. Chickens, cows, they all have emotion, they all feel. Mm-hmm. Just because they don't speak English and say ow, you think that cow bellowing when you're branding it isn't feeling pain, and the others that are nervous and trying to get to it to help it? Oh no, that's just, come on. Like, we have to be very serious about the impact of emotions and what it is to feel pain. It can really break someone. Mm-hmm. And if it's too painful to expose yourself to your own anger, then you can really hate yourself for getting angry. And that's a big part of yourself that's missing in life. Your whole sacral chakra is told you have no purpose. Your whole red and orange down there have no value to anything above the heart. So its voice doesn't get to contribute. And we all know what it feels like to not be heard. It's frustrating. You get bitter, you get upset, you get resentful. It's easy to polarize because it feels better. But it just feels better to not feel pain. It's not that it feels good. So reinforcing polarism is very popular. That's what the majority of individuals are after. And why do we expect them to all wake up? Just because we did, we expect them to? I don't want everyone to go through autism like Kelsey's children. I don't want teens to have a vaccine injury and question, like, what the fuck did I accidentally, like, I'm not sexually active, but did I get AIDS? Like, do I have Lyme's disease? What the hell is going on? Why does it feel like I'm dying more every day? Mm-hmm. And it's gonna come. Like, why is it just keep getting worse? It's long-term slow damage when it's neurotoxins in your body, and your body has no mechanism to excrete it. It's like radioactive poisoning, essentially. Yeah. And that's what your body treats it as when it's inorganic metals that have permeated your digestive tract or been injected past your mucous membrane, i.e. into your tissue or your bloodstream. Yeah. And in syringe form. So let's look at nature. What are syringes for? Well, mosquitoes take blood. Bees and hornets, wasps, what is it? Scorpions. Pretty much everything is snakes, teeth. That's pretty much the model. Everything is to inject venom, poison, toxin. Oh no, but not the ones we're making $80 a pop off. So I like to look at what's underneath everything. And what's underneath everything is duality. We have a darkness within us.
Yeah.
And we believe that we're here and we can protect our kids from that darkness within us. So we don't tell them our fears. We hide our pain from them. We hide our emotions because we feel that's our weakness. That resides in our darkness, below the heart, in our memories and guilt and regrets. So we protect our kids from that. And then they have these and they see that there's no place in adulthood for them. But they want to be an adult just like their mommy and daddy more than ever. So they figure being an adult is burying that. And that's self-control, self-regulation, and the conditions provide the perfect opportunity for an identity called the ego to seize control and say, I can take care of safety. And we say, okay, that makes me feel good. That's all I needed to hear. Someone was after it. Someone was on it. And I'm sleeping good night. And that's all we have to tell people. Oh, don't worry. Something's being done.
Yep.
Will it get done? No. But can you feel good about it now? Yes. But you weren't able to feel good while you thought no one was doing anything. So the truth under that is you believe there should be something done and you believe you should do something. But then there's this other voice, this Captain Lazy, that says, as long as someone else is doing something, I can just support them and cheer them on, and that's good enough. So we do have this duality within us. So we say, no, that's not me. Bullshit. I'm texting and posting all the time. I'm not lazy. I am throwing people under the bus every day for their actions, their thoughts, their beliefs, their conduct. I am crucifying individuals everywhere. Hallelujah. Follow me, everyone. I know the way, and the way is to find what's wrong in life and point the finger.
Yep.
Never asking myself, what am I here to create? Well, I'm here to create people pinned on crosses. I played a Roman once. Didn't like that role. Traumatized the shit out of me. Woke me up. So don't pray for people to be woke. It requires a hell of a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
Pray for those that have woken up to take action so they create a better world for those not needing trauma to wake them up. So we can have a reality where that's not necessary. But if all I've seen so far is that people will not change, that voice of laziness inside is way too convenient and way too strong, and vanity is just,
oh yeah,
right? Like, look at the division. I won't say what it's about, but we know what it's about. States right now. So I'm not going to say what side I'm on, but no one asks the accountability of the individual to make a choice before that choice.
Yeah. There's no accountability. There's no self accountability, and it's across the board. We all know what you're talking about, and that's absolutely. Parents, I see it a lot. Well, why didn't the teacher deal with this? Well, my kid's not a bad kid. It's the teacher. Teacher's not teaching. The teacher's not disciplining. Why is there an expectation that someone other than your child should be regulating your child? Why have you accepted a subservient position in the growth and development and guidance of the being you created?
Yeah.
Why? Why? And it's across the board. It doesn't matter what country you're in, what stage of life you're in. There's a system and an expectation and a belief and an idea that it's always someone else's fault, regardless of the situation. And it's funny to me, especially now. One of my favorite stories from my dad was, because he drove big trucks and he was a big truck mechanic and he had a lead foot like no other and he got pulled over a lot. And he said, Kelsey, the best thing that you can do if you ever get pulled over, whatever they say you did, own it. Call them sir, own it, apologize. Because I've never had a ticket because that's what I do. I got his lead foot and I was doing 85 and a 50. I'm not a moron. I know what I was doing. Not recently, but the minivan doesn't like that. But
Yeah.
and it, what, sir, I'm really sorry. Yes, I have to say yes. I'm aware. Oh, well, and you can see it on their face. It's like, holy shit! Wait, what? They're not going to argue. They're not going to lie. They're not going to cry. Oh, crap! All right, well, we'll let you off with a warning. Imagine if we took that practice into all of aspects of our lives and really, not just to get out of something, right? But like, yes, I spend more time on my cell phone and my tablet and playing Sudoku or whatever the hell people do, and I don't talk to my kid. They come home from school, we have dinner, and they're on their own until I shove them off to bed. Own that.
Yeah.
And that's only one of
Don't
a.
get mad at the world that they're looking for completion outside of themselves, and don't blame the teachers in the school and their peers for them exploring each other's bodies. Because this is brainwashing. This is mind control. This isn't natural. It's mind control to have a primal urge and instincts trigger your endocrine and dopamine system like that. This is drugs done through the eyeballs, people. It's very, very serious. When a child sees a dismemberment, when a child sees an act that they're not ready for, it's a rewiring. And now every time they witness it, they get this payoff system of internal drug release, and it can form very unhealthy habits in teenagers, and they extend that into adulthood. Myself being so self-aware, I raised my hand and said, "Why are you teaching us about birth control? We understand how it works. Why don't you just choose someone that you're in love with and ensure that you both are in love and willing to commit in that way? And when you are, if a child is created, you're a family." I could not compute what they were saying. No, it should be allowed as a for fun thing. And then we frown on people for shooting up with heroin. Studies will show the very same part of the brain gets lit up. Why do you think heroin's so attractive? Don't ever do it, anyone. I haven't, but I've seen studies. I know what I'm an empath. I can feel what people feel. So I guess that's what helped me understand, wow, I don't need to accept other people's ideas.
Yes.
And the person teaching us rejected her own sexuality and couldn't be around men. She could only be safe around women. And she was the one teaching us to be comfortable with our sexuality. And this is very interesting to me because I can feel her insecurities around the subjects, but that's her desire to help people heal there. So she's not a bad person at all. She's looking to complete herself and knows that I can help young people not become incomplete like me through teaching them about sexuality, because something went wrong in my experiences with my sexuality, and now I'm not okay with men.
Mm.
And this is who we had teaching us sex education, and she was a wonderful lady, but I feel bad that I was aware on that level and was like, okay, but why do we need these condoms if you just, it's not like you accidentally, it's
Yeah.
not
Nobody's
brushing elbows, people.
no.
This is a complex maneuver.
Yeah, nobody's tripping. It's you know.
Yeah, this isn't the hot tub.
No.
So I could not understand that, but society around me made it okay. So I witnessed my peers taking on these acts and things, and yes, all it was submitting to your primal urges. That's what it was.
Yeah, it's a drug.
Yeah. And it's disrespecting your own body. It's disrespecting the other person's body because you're looking to get high. You're looking to just taste love without baking it yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't want to pay for it. And you want the socialized medical industry to pay for it when you don't like what you taste.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a real offensive person. But I don't care, because the part of you that takes offense is your ego that is polarized.
Yeah.
And oh, that's insensitive. Well, what part of you is so sensitized that you're willing to judge others and sacrifice a part of yourself to stand on one side of the aisle and throw rocks at the other? We're all here at the same wedding. The marriage isn't the vanity of the $20,000-$30,000 wedding and the big thing. That's all symbolic of what we're supposed to be doing initiatorily within ourselves. And when you've done that, then you can enter into a sacred bond with another human being and share your temples and see the God nature that you're able to participate in, which is creation of life. And so we want the power of God, but we want to be Satan at the same time.
Have our cake and eat it too. Absolutely. That's what they teach us, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's some scary notions, and it is very subversive.
Yeah.
And all these rights movements have been very subversive CIA operations in order to sway public opinion toward this ultimate agenda of the ultimate perversion, which we won't speak of. And if we want the world to be a better place, we don't need warriors and thugs and cruise missiles and nuclear warheads in deep underground military bases. And we don't need this to go on. We need to raise our children with respect. We need to respect our own bodies. And then we're not going to have Uncle Weirdo, because we'll know that Uncle Weirdo doesn't belong near our kids.
Yeah.
And we won't have weird babysitters, because dads like myself will have taken steps in his life that he's not at a fucking camp job, thinking he's a hero because he can come home and buy a 50-inch flat screen, and that's success, and get your kid the next PlayStation or Xbox or whatever, because that's love. Vanity. Ho, ho, ho.
Well, we've set it up so that we are programmed to desire vacations from our children, from our families, right? How many parents do you know? I just need a night away. I just need a date night. I just need a night out. Why? Why has being around the family that you created God walking, because that's what we are. Why is that so painful? Can you imagine this isn't a great example after I took your master class, but I'm going to go with it. Imagine being source or God and throwing up its hands and going, I need a break. They're just too much. I can't deal with it. What the fuck? I mean, why have we set it up this way for ourselves? Why? Because we're out of balance. We're not looking in. We're not loving ourselves. We're not respecting ourselves. So it's, I need to go drink 2 bottles of wine with the girls, or whatever. We don't do these things, so I don't know what people do. But, why not go to the park? Why can't it be, we're getting out of the house and we're going to go do X, Y, Z? Or, you know what? We're all going to, as a family, play a board game. If we still have board games, stuff like that. It's not, the need to escape makes no sense to me now. It did then. I used to say it. I need to get away. I need 3 hours. I need to get out of this house. But I understand it now. What I was actually trying to get away from was my own emotions. It was my own inability to be like, you know what? I'm angry. I'm sad. I'm burnt out. I don't feel like I've got it in me to be enough for these kids right now. Wasn't them. It was never them. Wasn't my husband. It was never Bruce, much as I'd like to pretend sometimes it was. It was the emotions. It was the, I cannot deal with what is going on inside me, and I can't look myself in the mirror and say that. So it's got to be something out here. And that's what's got to change.
That's it. And the out there is meant to be that way.
Yeah.
Because it will reflect upon us that, the out there is telling me that I've forgotten to be my inner child. Mm-hmm. I thought being a grown-up was repressing all of those child dreams and emotions and ideas because they were silly. So that's what everyone told me growing up was. Giving up on myself. Yeah. And now I have these kids that are beautiful reflections of that version of myself, but I've given up on it, so I don't get fulfillment out of it. So I fulfill their need to be a kid, but that does nothing for me. So the park, it's, oh, come on. I said time to go. You're agitated. Why is it time to go? Isn't it time for you to chase them around? You have no idea how much fun it is for a kid to play tag with their parent. It is so scary and terrifying and fun for them at the same time because their parent is after them. Yeah. And you can move quicker and really reach. And it's really exciting because they know once you catch them, you're going to tickle them or hug them or kiss them. But the idea that they can pretend that you're going to get them is so much fun for them to expose themselves to that endocrine system in that way. Yeah. That's a child's heroine. It's excitement, it's adventure. And to involve yourself as an adult in your own inner child, you will find yourself laughing. And when you're laughing, that constriction, what you're doing is you're pumping serotonin and dopamine up, and you're feeling good and you're getting tired. And my kids, when we play fight or get in really going and chasing, they always win because I get paralyzed with laughter. I get so overwhelmed with their efforts and attempts because they won't give up. No matter how many times I'll use their momentum against them or outmaneuver them, they will continue and continue. And it is so entertaining to see their spirit and to see their determination that, yes, you start laughing and they overwhelm you. And the release you have, you're catching your breath for like 5 minutes afterward. Yeah. And you sleep really well. And it was a successful day at the park, a successful day on the living room floor if it's a rainy day, because you participated as a child and you let your feelings be present. And as adults, we've been taught that, oh, feelings are immature. So we didn't manage our feelings. And now we're an immature adult because we have no capacity to deal with them.
Yeah.
Go figure. So fear of being immature with your feelings has caused you to be an immature adult because you got no abilities. And being balanced isn't just being led by the feelings. It's knowing that what's appropriate is appropriate. Not appropriate for me every night to join my kids in play. Um, but it's not appropriate to put them off every night to get other things done.
Yeah.
But there may be a week that every night it requires putting them off, and I have to deal with that. And the kids in that time get to understand Dad's not here for our pleasure. So, how do we pleasure ourselves and not annoy mom? And because dad's not in pleasure mode this week, we have to respect and take consideration of that. And that gives them an opportunity to contribute. And when they do, we see that, oh my gosh, they've matured. And these opportunities they've taken to contribute, they stick. And now they start contributing that in that way on a normal basis. Even when I come back to fun dad, they'll still help do dishes. Not just because you need to support dad because he's getting this done or he's not around, so you need to help out with cleaning the kitchen. They're helping out with me there, eating dinner with them. We do it together now. So those burdens that we feel as parents, my wife and I, at the end of the night, we're like, wow, hey, it's a lot different than when they were young. No, they're not those cute, cuddly little babies. They're really big, cuddly kids now. But now they're so capable, and we see the pride in them that they take in doing those dishes and rinsing them and feeling good about their contributions. So providing opportunities is what we're here for as parents. And that's what our parents were doing. They were trying to provide us all the opportunities they didn't have. So they spoiled us. And then when we didn't learn from only getting spoiled, we crossed the line. And when we crossed the line, they didn't have tools except punishment. So some people took offense to that. Some people thought I deserved it, and we didn't take offense to it. And as a dad now, I'm like, yeah, I earned it as a kid because wow, kids can really push buttons.
Yes, sir, they can.
So I really honor my parents for all their efforts, but I know they weren't perfect. So I'm not going to hold them accountable for their lack of perfection, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm perfect. Because through my imperfections, my kids see my vulnerabilities. And through that, they get to see that if they feel vulnerable, that's also valid in them. And as a father, that's my greatest gift. As a parent, that will be your greatest gift, everyone, is seeing that you have an open door into your soft spaces. And just like your little one saying, Gillian saying, you got angry eyes, Mom. He'll be able to express and find that voice. So some challenges early on caused a refocusing of direction and intent behind parenting. And because of that, your children are going to grow up more akin to nature's design, balancing and managing the emotional state and fully expressing both and being comfortable in both expression without self-regulation of an ego. Because we withhold that from our kids, protecting them, and then they get their ego, and then we tell them good and bad. And then they have bad feelings and good feelings. Repress bad, seek good. Welcome to drug addictions and self-denial and accountability. And we wonder why teenagers are what we call fuck ups.
Mm.
So I guarantee you, your young ones won't need to explore in the way typical teenagers do through dopamine releases, like high risk activities with the opposite sex when you're young.
Yeah.
We,
Well, that's the thing, right? It's all about, well, we got to get them into kindergarten, and then they got to learn to read, and then they got to go to gymboree, and they have to have the play dates, and then there's the soccer and the this and the that, and it's, they have to sit still, and they have to do this, and they have to perform like a trained monkey, do what we want on command, and there's no allowance for experimenting. And when they're 3, 4, 5, 6, that's when you want them to experiment, because what are they going to experiment with? They're going to jump off a bureau. They're going to think that they can fly, or that the floor is made of glass, or cool imaginary superhero kids stuff. That's what you want them to experiment with, so that they can, locate themselves in their universe and figure out, oh yeah, that hurts when I touch the stove because it's hot, and I know that that's hot, and I'm me, and it's it, and I'm not going to do that again, hopefully. Isn't that far better than stopping them, and then they don't learn that they don't learn that that's pain, so then they're going out and they're racing cars, or they're trying drugs, or they're getting into fights. We don't see how we are causing the perceived bad behaviors, which is really just a cry for self-expression and self-acknowledgement, and the ability to know who and what they are. We've denied them that through all of the, through, the standardized education, and the medical systems and everything else. We are consistently on a day-to-day basis denying them their God-given sovereign right and ability to discover who they are. It's why we now have quarter life crises and have midlife crises. Everyone's running around, they don't know who the hell they are, and they're miserable, and they don't understand why, and nothing feels good, and nothing fits, and nothing works. Why? Because we didn't let them figure it the fuck out when they were kids.
Exactly. We reward them for obeying and chastise them for disobeying. And all that does is teach them that they need a world of control in order to feel safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect programming.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we see through it. It wasn't easy. I looked at reality from the outside for a long time, and I reintroduced myself when I was ready and participated, but was still on the outside because I had a big secret that I wasn't participating on the mental level that others were. I was pretending to do a role as a human because I knew others would expect me to do certain things in this role, and then they would consider me normal. But my thoughts and ideas, I knew other people weren't having those. So I'd keep them to myself until I was comfortable with someone, and I would start to introduce some of those ideas and thoughts, and they'd be like, whoa. Some people would be like, I have thoughts too. And we would have amazing conversation. So we have to really understand who we are in life. And if we don't, then we blame the outer world for not making us happy. But if you understand who you are, you have everything you need to make you happy. I learned I had everything I needed to physically take care of my body through diet and health education about diet, supplements, things like that, detoxification, expectorants, treating my own kidneys with guaifenesin, which is the active ingredient in cough medicine in order to rid the body of mucus, because the damage that the kidneys sustain is you lose the ability to excrete phosphate, and you get calcium phosphate buildup in the system, and it feels like arthritis all over your body. It's fibromyalgia. So it really sucks, and you want to get that really out of your body. So What caused that? It wasn't good enough for me to just treat it. I found an effective treatment knowing that this is what's helping me, but what's causing it to not do it on its own.
Yeah.
And it really did come down to self-love deficiency. Um, and with that, you can walk in your darkest place. Um, and that's where you discover your own light. Let Daisy in here. She needs some love.
Hi, Daisy. We all love Daisy. No, that's 100% true. And for some of us, it was kind of the opposite. We had to, we had to go on the self-love journey before we could get our bodies in order. That's been we've had kind of the reverse situation. I had to take the journey, and now I'm not going to say my body's falling apart, but I am reliving all of the unintended subconscious abuse I've put it through, all these years. But it wouldn't be possible for me to rectify that and transmute it and feel it and dissolve it without, taking this path. And it really seems to be one or the other. Either, like yourself, there's a serious physical damage that forces you onto the journey, or you out of desperation or despair or depression, you take the journey, and then the body follows after. um, and neither's a cakewalk. Neither is less painful or less traumatic than the other, but it's what's called for.
Mm-hmm.
We all called this in. It's what we signed up for before we incarnated here, and it's what's necessary to break through all of the layers and the layers and the layers. And
Yeah.
I hear a lot of folks out there saying, well, I've done the work, why isn't things changing? And I kind of challenge people, if you've truly done the work, why are you still here? This is school. This is trial by fire where we are. It's not meant to be all suffering and traumatizing events, but if you're ready to reach the pinnacle of our existence, then what? I'm not ready to cash my chips in. Not by any means.
Yeah, misassociation of the word work.
Mm,
We believe it's an act of doing,
yeah.
and work is, for myself, work. The hardest work, the most painful thing to do is feel emotion.
Mm.
I can work a 12-hour day. I can't feel 12 hours of emotions. No freaking way. 2 hours of a deep connection, or 3 hours on a personal call with an individual, and yes, I come off of it with serotonin and dopamine flooding the system, and I feel amazing, but oh my gosh, that takes it out of you. Connecting and feeling and being vulnerable to those feelings, it's hard work.
Yes.
That's the hardest work. So we've done the work, but it's not playing out. Well, we've fulfilled expectations in order for something to come our way if we fulfill them. So, no, you participated in a narrative that promised you something, and now it didn't. Now what?
Yeah.
Find a new narrative. Find a new narrative, find a new narrative, find a new. And then when you get so sick and tired of it, you get angry. And you decide to solve your own problems. And you realize, for myself, there were no rabbit holes to go down um, until, well, 1999, when I discovered David Icke.
Mm.
And then there was some rabbit holes. And then Bob Frizzle. Everything in this book isn't true, but it's exactly the way things are. So there was some impactful things that I came across that bent my mind. So our parents, they dealt with an imbalance of the mind. They felt repressed. They dealt with hardship. They dealt with this. They dealt with that. They're conflicted in their minds, typically. So as children, we had to be good in their minds in order for them to reflect upon themselves. They're good in their minds.
Yeah.
Well, now we're like, holy shit, I'm no good if my body is broken down. So our generation, the parents of now having kids, we're dealing with that imbalance of our physical body. Yeah. So they dealt with the imbalance in the masculine. We're dealing with imbalance of the feminine. What if we as individuals in this generation unify in all of those feelings? And this is hormones.
Someone's having some feelings.
Feels it going on. Mm-hmm. Tension. That feminine energy desires masculine energy to complete it. So our feelings are desiring that mind that is balanced to come into it to balance it. The feelings don't balance themselves. The mind comes into it and says, whoa, 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 let me take stock of what's going on. Okay, bad feeling. Well, did it lead to good outcome? Mm-hmm. Yes, because that one bad feeling taught us the lesson, and now we accomplish a good feeling every time. Okay, so that was a key to success. Therefore, bad feeling accepted. That's okay. Nothing personal. It's grounded. Yeah. It's not held on to as a trauma. But the mind must go into there to discern all of those memories, traumas, emotions, things that you're holding on to, ideas of who you are as a human, ideas of who you are as a soul, because the New Age movement has filled everyone's minds with all these ideas that some magical fairy dust is going to explode out of the ether and everyone's going to be just kumbaya. Yeah. Everything's solved because everyone's awake. Well, as soon as everyone's awake, everyone's going to start seeking depravity again. So it's just a cycle of human nature. We're not meant to all be awake at once. It doesn't give rise to expression. It gives rise to conformity. And that's the hive mind. If we're all wanting the world to wake up, well, all hail Klaus Schwab. Because that's what we're doing, whether you're against him or for him. Especially if you're against him, you're manifesting it in the blueprint of reality because you're saying, I don't want him, I want the better version. Well, he believes with 100% of him and his soul that he's the best version. So we're manifesting the same thing by believing in the hero or the villain and thinking that the actions of either will complete us. When it's the action of the observer and the choice the observer makes that defines the outcome of reality. Because the protagonist and antagonist are just roles played by characters in the novel, and you are the book. So don't lose yourself in half the book and rip yourself in half and burn half your pages. There won't be a point to being a protagonist if you don't have that understanding of what made the antagonist provoke him. And is the protagonist really a good guy? Isn't the protagonist always after a revenge, correcting the imbalance? Isn't that an act of revenge? I've been so imbalanced that I'm going to balance things out by making you feel my pain. There we go. There's the desire of balance, everyone. Yep. And the insanity behind the good guys is you want to alleviate your pain by making someone else feel it. The bad guys want to eliminate their pain by eliminating everyone's availability to pain.
Yes, ma'am. Well, and I think it was you that gave this kind of analogy, but it's, let's say you have a line and there's hot and there's cold. At what point can you differentiate, right? I mean, it's all sensation. It's just the polar opposites of one another. So this good guy, bad guy, we're not any different from anyone or anything. We're all on the same linear plane. We're just at opposite ends. It doesn't mean it's good, bad, right, wrong, or it doesn't even mean left, right at this point, honestly. It's literally just two separate vectors, opposite one another. And that was a hard concept for me at first when I first really started, doing the deeper work, not the kind of surface, mainstream stuff, because they don't go into that because it doesn't serve their narrative. It seems to be, light workers unite and we're going to go kick people's butts and we're going to blast through this and we're going to keep it. And it's all just, it's nonsense. It's nonsense because all that we're looking to destroy is us, right? It is another aspect of us. And the only reason that there is a difference, it's because we have experienced things. We have had experiences and traumas, whether this life or last, where we've gone, well, I've experienced that and I don't like that. That's it. And I'm not willing to do that again. That's all it is. And it was a really hard concept to understand and to really feel in my gut that yes, that is the case. I have had past life stuff come up. I murdered my sister in a very, very past life. That was horrifying to watch. Murder's not something I condone, and it's not something I would participate in again. But it's because there's a version of me, an aspect of me that did participate, and I now know what that feels like and the trauma and awful feelings it causes. It's not something I would do.
That's right.
But
that's why
nobody
the Giants were such bastards. They didn't know better.
Exactly.
And when they felt out the realm and discovered what they could create and what they could break and what they could force, well, now we have morals because that experiment took place. That karma is in the earth. It's in our own tissue. Mm-hmm. Why do you think we're incarnating as smaller humans? There can be many more of us. We can have many more experiences, and we don't have to consume so much food that is such a burden on the planet. Yeah. We can supply a lot more people and supply a lot more consciousness to interact. And the more consciousness interacts with itself, the more aware it becomes, the more capacity it has. So it expands. So humans would constantly be shrinking and multiplying in order for more experience, whereas the originals may have been really, really, really big people. Daisy, please. So we've got a lot of responsibility as parents and as spiritual, I don't want to say workers, as just human beings, because we're human beings. We're a soul as a human being. We're a consciousness, and we're responsible for all of that. And we can't put it on someone else. When we, like, I'll give a bit of a warning out there to those that are aware of everything going on, both sides of the narratives, because they're all just storybook stuff. Yeah. But once we believe in a grander version of completion outside of ourselves, then that's what's required to happen in our blueprint before our completion can take place. Yeah. And if you hadn't completed your completion in your human life, in your narrative, if you haven't come to grips with your skin and bone and attitude and personality and the fact that you got to eat and sit on the toilet and and have urges and things like that, and guilt and feelings. If you haven't come to terms with all of that and made peace with yourself, how the hell are we supposed to trust you in your dream world? You can't manage your conscious reality where your subconscious is the program for it. But apparently, you have control over your dream and subconscious world, and somehow you're actually got it figured out there, and you're your higher self while you're dreaming and doing all this fabulous stuff for the greater good of humanity. Because this is a real common theme, and I see people falling prey to this over and over again. And pretty soon you're going to be on an alien spaceship. And if you think aliens are cool, well, have you watched alien movies? They're meant to induce fear and trauma, because in doing so, they create a dimensional gateway inside of you in which a demon can come and give you ideas and thoughts, and then you'll act on it and get a big serotonin dopamine release, and then you get addicted to being possessed and then abusing others, or drugs, or abusing your own body through self-depravity, self-degradation, self-abuse, whether it's food, drugs, sex. Self-abuse, you let a demon in. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're not special. You can let an angel in, but then are you going to go slaying demons? Or are you going to understand, ooh, that's an accountability? So is letting a demon in. Do I want to let beings outside of myself tell me how to balance what I am? Or is that for me to figure out? I am the ultimate being. If I wasn't, I'd be the angel. If I wasn't, I'd be the demon. But I'm neither. They're aspects of me. They're shadows of me. They're polar versions of me. So I won't take too much more time, everyone, but let's go quantum physics. Let's just go. Let's go particle physics. So what is a particle? A particle doesn't exist. A particle is an idea. A particle is an observed moment. So the moment is the thing. So the thing is the moment. So the moment is an interaction. What is the interaction? Well, it's where light transitions from a waveform into a photon. So a light particle. So it's a beam, and then at one point it becomes observed, and that's the moment, or that idea of creation. And that's what the demons and ideas and drugs and dopamine, serotonin, that's what's going on inside of us. Everyone, we know that CERN's turned back on, and are they going to rip a dimensional gateway and things come through? Your chakras are dimensional gateways, and you are coming through them in every moment. And then when you go to sleep, you stop coming through them. So where are you when you're not coming through them? Are you conscious? Are you aware? Or do you have no memory? So are you only conscious and aware when you're in the physical body? Apparently so, because you feel the physical body. So when you're not in the physical body and you're in dream state, you're in light land. So this is sub reality. It doesn't exist yet. It's light. It hasn't decided to be a particle or anything yet. And then soon as it does, it says, I am a vibratory form. I am a particle. I am a thing. But in order for a thing to be a thing, what happens is it polarizes. It has to divide, because it has to identify itself.
Yeah.
So it has to have its opposite to look at. So two things are now formed. And they have opposite charges. This is a plus, this is a minus. And they're going to actually repel at first, because they've polarized. They've gone against each other. And then that repulsion causes that to do that. So now look at the top of a pillar, right? And all the light beams, right? Oh, it looks like a Roman column. Oh, oh. It's right in our face, everyone. Some of us see it every day. So sorry, I'm not making fun of anyone. But it's duality. This is our nature. So here we are, we're identity waking. And then our supportive, so this is sleeping. So that's all that's going on. And that this is why we have perception. This is why we have memories. So when we go into this, we do have access to what's going to get fed into here. There is this feedback loop, and this is the secret. This is why your sacral chakra is so important, that gateway. And that's why this is spelt like that. That's why this is like that. It's the serpent in the garden and the apple and all that jazz, right? So we've got some really complex stuff. We'll save that for more master classes where minds are agreeing to be blown.
Yes. I mean, to put it kind of in context of what, of the whole parenting and thing, like you said, there's this idea that they can't perform and can't do awake, but asleep in the dream state, they're just, these mighty, powerful beings, right? Well, why do we as parents, knowing and feeling that we can't control and balance ourselves internally, why the hell do we think we have a chance at controlling, guiding, and balancing these children that we've created? And until I was able to be like, nope, I am 1,000% out of control. I have zero ability to regulate my own emotions. There's a whole bucket full of them that I've just kicked to the side, and they are spilled all over the floor, and I can't even begin to clean them up. It wasn't until I could acknowledge that things started not turning around, but things became less effort filled when it came to day-to-day tasks and things with the kids. I really can't get over just today and yesterday. It was effortless to get them to pick up their toys. It usually looks like a bomb went off in this place. Wearing clothes has been a struggle for a multitude of reasons, but we had people in clothes today, and it was wonderful. And simple things that a lot of folks probably take for granted, but for my kids are a much bigger struggle. But it wasn't me imposing my will. It wasn't me trying to balance myself and make myself feel better by demanding and commanding my kids and forcing them to do things. The minute I let go of that idea of control, and they're not running wild with knives and setting fires and,
exactly,
pickpocketing people, but, there are boundaries. But the minute I stopped trying to control their behavior as far as how they reacted to things and what they are and are not willing to do or participate in and can and cannot tolerate. There are times they simply cannot tolerate clothes on them. They simply cannot tolerate to eat the food that I make. Now that I am more aware and I can accommodate that because I'm accommodating it in myself, there are times that I cannot accommodate their volume. There are times that I need to be angry, and whoever sees it is going to see it. Now that I'm able to do that, it's a beautiful ballet. The dancers aren't falling flat on their faces anymore. They're not missing each other when they're jumping. It's, the letting go. And I know a lot of people and folks talk about letting go, but and you and Leia and Greg do a beautiful job of really getting into the meat of what that actually means, because it's just another one of those phrases that, it's shiny with fairy dust, and it's this elusive, well, if I can just let go. Well, what the fuck are you letting go of? What does that mean, really? And until you can answer that, and until you can look it in the face, it's going to be really difficult.
That's right.
You
Oh
know?
yeah, I feel it on the left side big time because it means unlimited trust in self.
Yeah.
That's letting go. It really is trusting that I'm not meant to win today. I'm meant to hold myself if I don't feel good. And
Yeah.
that's allowed. And why do I feel like I didn't win? Well, I had expectations. Should they have been fulfilled? Well, maybe not, because the kids may have had their own expectations. And maybe
Yeah.
I wasn't fulfilling them. So was it fair? Not really. So is it fair to be upset that I didn't fulfill them? Okay, no. Can I let go of that? With the knowledge of why it's there, I have no choice.
Yeah.
It's the only honorable thing to do because I wouldn't do it to someone else and I can't do it to me, knowing what I know. So it's a moment of great humility. And you let it go. You're 100% okay with having made the mistake and taking accountability and thus being inspired to make a change the next time, or to not judge yourself so harshly next time, knowing that, oh, maybe it's healthy for my kids to see me do my own damage control when I'm upset. And then that will give them a mentor. So when they have their own damage version going on, they can go, oh, yeah, I should do a damage control activity.
Yeah.
And self maintenance. If we kids never see us cry, then they're embarrassed when they cry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they never see us angry. They don't like themselves when they're angry. They think they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Um, Anger is sacral energy being repressed, and when it's not managed, it will look to be satisfied in one way or another. And money and sex aren't good outlets for that. Those are things we can lose ourselves to. And the ego will use that against us. And taking back control over that area of our body is very difficult. As I've said earlier on, I kind of came in pre-programmed, so I wouldn't go through lessons in that venue to learn about self-worth that way. But everyone has their own way to completion, and I believe in every lifetime, everyone has that opportunity.
Yeah.
In our series of lifetimes, we may have one that's really destined for it, that we really set ourselves up. And those participating in my space, I really see that in them. I see others out there that are maybe have another lifetime, that maybe the great offense is to occur in this lifetime so that they hold on to that. And it creates a memory so strong that next lifetime they'll remember
Yeah.
what it was to be burned and give up your lifetime fighting. I spent quite a few lifetimes of struggle against the man, the trying to solve the world's problems. And all I did was I took up problems that weren't my own, and I didn't acknowledge what Robin needed.
Yeah.
In past lifetimes before I was even Robin, and now Robin in this lifetime has the repercussions of that. But I honor those beings for their struggle, and because of them holding on to struggle so tightly, I really examined it in this lifetime on my internal work, and I saw that, wow, that's prevented me from love.
Yeah.
All this idea that I was stopping people from hurting people, therefore supporting love, I just took myself out of the game of love. And the best, and therefore the forces I was fighting against, they won.
Yeah.
Um, and I had to admit that in this lifetime and say, woo, I will not desire for completion through the struggle, through seeing a bad guy get strung up at the gallows. I am not going to cheer, and I'm not going to jeer at those that I call my enemy. I understand that they're playing a role for my own awareness, and I'm playing a role in their life because I'm equally their enemy. Those that I don't resonate with, they see me as really bad or really off or really scary or really risque, because of what I'm able to go into in consciousness. And people shouldn't do that because you'll lose yourself to what? A demon? But drinking alcohol and going to church on Sundays is great.
Mm.
So, yeah, enough about demons and angels. Um, it's that's the two polarized versions.
Yeah.
And to reunify is to understand we were that original, and they're both within us, and then they have the ability to recombine, and then a new expansion and a recombination and a new expansion, and forever and ever and ever we're fully expanding. And that's what we want to experience here, and we want to see our children experience. So, yeah, we've really learned that accommodating our children is accommodating their feelings and their emotions, the good ones and the bad ones, allowing them to express their voice, when it's a bad one and a good one, and not teach them to self repress in order to get rewarded. Because that self repression will cause a repression, and that repression will look for relief at some point. And that usually happens in teenage years through bad choices when you're not around. So ensure your teenagers are making good decisions for themselves and have faith and trust in who they are by being honest about who you are as a parent, that you
Yeah.
are fallible and it's okay that we make mistakes. When I tell my kids, I'm very sorry. I was upset. Um, I shouldn't have taken it out on you. My kids, they, in a very mature manner, say, "That's okay, Dad," and they'll hug me, and I feel it, and I have to forgive myself because as an empath, I know my kids mean it. They're not just saying it; they actually mean it. They don't want me to beat myself up anymore. They do understand, and my kids at 10 and 8, they they do understand because they've seen their dad get upset. They've seen their mom get upset when they were young, and they know what it's like to be upset for themselves, and they're very mature young individuals.
Yeah.
um, they're very well balanced. So we encourage everyone to seek their form of balance within themselves, and it's not through an extreme version of polarization or rejection of a self. It's You have a light for a reason. It's to bring into your own darkness. That's the whole point of it all. And in that, you're going to find your own security through your own vulnerability, because your vulnerability is the source of your insecurity. Don't be afraid to shine a light on it. And when you do, if you vocalize it, then others will say, "Wow, you shouldn't be afraid of that. That's really beautiful that you think that." Really? I shouldn't be ashamed? No, not at all. That's a very admirable trait. But if you only believe that about yourself, look at what you're doing to yourself when you don't accomplish that. Oh, you're right. I'm only liking myself when I'm perfect. And I'm a perfectionist, so perfect never happens. I'm sorry, wife and kids. I'm working on it.
Well, it's the conditions, right? It's the conditions rearing their head. We were raised by people who could only love conditionally, and we all have a lot of ideas and beliefs surrounding that. And I'm only just starting to really, logically, I knew it. I could point at instances and go, "Yep, okay." But this kind of this latest release I went through that was very sacral chakra oriented. It was very awareness shifting, and yeah, it's not good, it's not bad. It is what it was. It was conditional, and that's not the way it has to be. We have a choice, parents and families. We have a really big choice. And, is it really that scary to make that choice, knowing what the opposite choice holds? We all know how we were raised and how that felt and what that did to us, and where you wouldn't be sitting here listening to us right now if you felt there wasn't another way. And there is, and it's all your own for you to choose and decide and create. And it's not my way. It's not Robin's way. That's the beauty in it. We all get to find our own way.
That's right. Imbalance causes vibration. Vibration is noise. Noise allows communication. So yeah, we gotta toss it up in order to sort it out. Otherwise, we're just always playing on the surface. So it really takes the examination of your inner deepest emotions, not satisfying the surface layer of them. That's only the ego, and it's a false bottom. It never really gets fulfilled. So don't worry about the outer world and it trying to open gateways and vortices and all that garbage, because they're doing it in an artificial means when the technology is in every living, breathing human being.
Yeah.
You can do it in every moment. You can bring your God nature through. You don't have to fear what's going to come through. When you open that doorway, what you see, it's you. So have you been bearing your worst version? Because that's the version you're going to have to deal with. So on the spiritual journey, yeah, it's not fun. The first things you deal with are pretty rough. But then after you've dealt with a lot of that, you get to see, oh my gosh, there's so much beauty that's comprised within me that I've also denied. And wow. I'm going to need a lifetime to fully explore my desires, my joys, and thankfully I have that. And there's so many that I want to fulfill that I dreamed up as a child, that I dreamed that when I had an adult's body that I would do this and this and this. There's that inner child to honor. And the only reason I get to do that is, well, I've got 3 beautiful excuses with beating hearts of their own that will be entertained when I take them back up the snowboarding mountain to relive my teenage years. No, I don't need to drop cliffs anymore, but surfing powder will be just as satisfactory, if not more. So really explore what you've come to this realm for. And that's where you're going to find your foundation. And then it's something that you can, as Kelsey say, make the choice in. As a parent, as a human being, you're your own parent. And when you do a really bang up job, you want to help others. You want others to do it too and teach them to do it to themselves. That's ultimately what we want as parents, is our children to figure it out to a greater degree than we have in their own self journey. And thus we call it progress or evolution. And our soul's journey is complete. Instead of just burdening our children with our parents' traumas that was caused on us, so we cause it to them, and that's what we do, right? That's unconscious. So being conscious is taking hold of the subconscious, but that's a relationship between your positive and negative. Those 2 forms that split off in the event, right? They have to say, I agree. I am something. That means you are something. And if that's true, there's a place where we can come together in the middle. And those are the 3 dantians of the human body. Because light is coming through, entering us in through that gateway, and then we're expressing. We're dividing. A big portion of us goes upward, the positive ions, and then negative goes down toward into the earth. And when you build up a whole bunch, there wants to be a connection, an arc. Noah's Ark, Ark of the Covenant, all of that jazz, right? So it's that divine connection. But you have to descend to ascend in order to make that final connection. Then you have accessibility to the whole rod. And then the portal or the gateway starts to do this. And you take in light through these sources. And you become the unifier of those sources of light rather than the source of the division. So this is ego's awareness until we unify. Then when we unify, we become the walking God, which is just a conscious creator. That's all God needs. You're a human if you're unconsciously creating because you're in the hue of a God. You're just imitating it. You're pretending you're doing dollhouse. But it's real implications when we do dollhouse in a human body. We create real children in it.
Yeah.
And there's real repercussions to that. So we have to take full accountability. And it's up to us as parents to teach our children to be accountable for themselves. So our children, when they get ready for their volleyball camp, they got to get their own stuff ready. We will ask if they've checked twice, but if we show up and we don't look in their bag, we just tell them to check it. And if they get there without something, that's on them.
Yeah.
We don't say, oh, I should have checked for you. You're useless. We say, well, hope you learned that lesson. That's going to be embarrassing. It's not personal for me. I don't get mad at them anymore.
Yeah.
And the old Robin did, because they go, aren't you going to like chastise me about this? I'm like, no, it's up to you. You make a choice. And they go, whoa. And the way they step up is amazing when they have that. And that's exactly what you described. You're not trying to control the outcome of your daily life. You're allowing it to have its own outcome.
Yeah.
And because of that, the outcome is so aligned with your heart because you're allowing your subconscious to be satisfied as well, not over controlled by the conscious. So you're unifying, Kelsey, and doing a beautiful job of it. The body has welcomed the spirit in, and that's the physical traumas. You're literally birthing a soul into your body.
Mm.
And that is the experience of that unification event that we call becoming one, becoming the I am. That's the heart-centered consciousness. You can't pretend. It's a process, and no one's better than anyone else. No one that has accomplished it is better than anyone else. It's just you fucked up way more and way before everyone else, so you got sick of yourself and actually unified. That's all.
Yep.
I'm the biggest fuck up, if anything. If I'm the first in a long time, people are doing it in every generation. So.
Yeah.
And I know what it took for me to get here, and I'm not going to go and wish that upon my neighbor anytime soon. I want them to live their life.
Yeah.
So I'm not on this big wake up the world. It's my mission to sacrifice my sleep time on alien spaceships getting probed or tattooed or whatever. Yeah. Sorry, dudes. Anyone that's offended by that, I just can't take it serious. I can't. I did one out-of-body astral travel, and speaking of Sirius, yeah, I traveled to Sirius. I was an underwater aqua being there on some underwater planet. Great. So what? Should I go live in the ocean? I don't have gills, do I? Told my mom when I was 11, if I did, I'd go live in the ocean. So, okay, that's where that urge came from. That's why I like buoyancy. That's why I love water. That's why it's so healing. But obviously, whatever I was doing there, the grass was greener here. Yeah. Whatever I committed to there, I knew I needed to fully immerse myself in whatever I was doing here. So yes, that out of body, that one astral that I actually did, I went through a dimensional porthole or gateway and ended up there. So there's some weird stuff. And this was the only reference I had ever had at that point. I didn't know about this stuff. Was I had watched Stargate, the Kurt Russell movie, because this was a long time ago.
It's one of my favorites.
So I'm in outer body and I see the gateway and I'm like, no way, it's just like SG1.
Shall I?
This is crazy. Like, at least I'm not on a desert planet with pyramids, but what a big water world with pelicans pooping all over these like little stony spires and like white with bird shit. I'm like, this is crazy. So that was intense. But knowing that, okay, if that was a planet I was having a consciousness on and that exists, it's a realm of awareness.
Yeah.
But I chose to come to this realm of awareness. So just like I'm not pretending to be a 2-year-old anymore and saying I identify as a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
So what was the danger of my ego being exposed to that information? Well, I could have been I'm a Syrian and because of that I'm here to help humanity and yeah, see how stiff my back is? Yes, I'm so enlightened, right? Can't do it. Can't do it. I came to be human. Humans have fun.
Yeah.
Humans fuck up.
It's a privilege, it's a privilege to be here. It's a big gift. We all got the opportunity to choose, and we chose all of the bullshit, all of the party, all of the nonsense. We chose it all. And we either learn to accept those choices and have fun and do what we came here to do, which is have fun and experience and learn and love. It's not to spend the whole time fighting and toiling and being traumatized and living in fear. We're here to have freaking fun. This is the biggest, best party in all of the whatever you want to call it, universe, realms, dimension. I don't even know anymore what to call it. It's so ridiculous at this point. Souls want to be here. This is the it place. It's the happening club on the scene, right? Don't waste it. Don't waste it worrying about external narratives and what you're supposed to look like or how you're supposed to act or what kind of parent you're supposed to be or fitting in with the other soccer moms or being the toughest, football dad or whatever the frig it is. Just be you. Yes. Figure out who you are, and there's a multitude of ways to do that, Go over to Robin's site at Spirited Rebirth and Herbal Healing. It's galacticinnature.com. They have amazing offerings of all different kinds, whether it's spiritual, herbal, all kinds of stuff. If you have questions, especially about the parenting or the autism, email me, send me a message, direct message me. All of our contact info is in the show notes and on the Facebook post. We're not doing this. It's not our job. We don't get paid. I don't get paid for this. It's not about, we could care less about followers, clicks, and all that crap. We are doing this because it is true to our heart. It is who we are. And we want to have this information out there for people, not so they can do it our way, not so they have to work with us or they, and for an additional $19.95, a month we'll do personal calls. It's not about any of that. It's make your own decisions, find yourself so you can find your own way, because it's a beautiful world if you choose to see it that way. It doesn't have to be all doom and gloom, and you can have literally the time of your life with your kids, with your family, all on your own. It doesn't matter. It's available to you, but you have to choose it and you have to take responsibility for it.
That's it. Information, until it's put into practice, it's just a light form that hasn't manifested. So it doesn't, knowing things without applying them to your life directly doesn't help. And that's what I love to do most of all, is bring the spiritual experience into the human one, because I believe the human is a spiritual being and it is a privilege to be in this body. Only when you lose it and its abilities do you truly value it. And I don't want people to do that. I want people to explore it. The resorts that I'm aware of, they don't advertise lukewarm pools. You go for the extremely hot one, and then you jump in the cold plunge. It's about the contrast. It's exposing yourself to that in life, and that's what humans are about. That's what we're going for. And the contrast is, oh my gosh, I have to manage other human beings as well as myself. And how do I do so with balance? This is a very difficult thing as parents. Well, we understand that there is no outer greater good. When you give up on that false light narrative and idea, then you start being here for your greater good. And that's not selfish, because all of a sudden you're self maintaining your emotions. Therefore, you're regulating your thoughts, and the choices you make are based in your heart. And when you do so, your world and environment reflects it. People start trusting you. They show up, they help you, they like you, they contribute, they encourage you. And you feel like, wow, life is working out for me now. When you start working out for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the choice you make as a parent. If I don't learn to love myself, how am I going to learn to love these little kids?
Exactly.
So it's not easy realizations to have. And to all those before you that watch this, before you have kids or while you got young ones, yeah, your self-love journey, that's the best parent you can be.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, that's the alchemical process. Loving yourself will allow you to do what Kelsey is doing for herself, to change essentially a living nightmare into an abundant Garden of Eden shared with the souls of her dreams. Because that's the opportunity we really have and the abundance we're participating in. So yeah, get aligned as quick as you can into your own purpose in being here. Yeah, if you're an alien hybrid and you got weird genetics and you got weird abilities, then okay, then maybe you should be talking about aliens. But if not, maybe you should pay attention to your human relationships. Because if you try and convince other humans about your relationships with aliens, they're gonna not trust you. And when you require them to be there for you, they're going to hesitate. And you're going to feel really alone. And it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
Your neighbors are not your enemies. The propaganda being fed to us is. And the propaganda is being fed to us because they know the danger in us uniting with our neighbors. It's as dangerous as the father and the mother uniting within you. It'll free you. Because in one little neighborhood, a bunch of like-minded individuals that respect each other's way of life and stays out of each other's business but comes together when they need each other, no one in that neighborhood will starve.
I mean, hell, I know Greg's watching, and I know he saw the most recent Matrix movie. Neo and Trinity, mother and father, they did everything they could to prevent them from uniting in the last movie, and they did. And what happened? They broke the fucking Matrix. They were free. They could friggin' fly. It's what we're doing. It's what we're doing every day in our everyday lives without the superhero cliches and all of that nonsense. It's literally what we're doing. But you know, it's a choice. We have the choice. We always have a choice, even when it looks like we don't. We always have the choice. And if we don't collectively start choosing ourselves, it's just going to be the same party. It's going to be the same lame middle school dance with the same crappy music. You know, it's up to us. Nobody's going to choose for us. We have to each individually choose within our own self, and then in our own family units, and then in our own communities. And to hell with everything else that's going on.
That's it. That's right. Don't wait for end times and don't fear the end times.
Yeah.
Because your time is coming to an end whether you like it or not. So
exactly. So don't waste
it. You like it or not. That's your choice.
Yes.
So yes, Laura, let's party.
Heck yeah.
that's why we're here, the full breadth of feeling and emotion, and not to judge ourselves for it, but to understand how we feel as a result of our choices. That's nothing to do with judgment. It's shaping our future choices. And that's how you live in the flow state, and you accept your moment, which results in a future moment manifesting before you to participate in. It's only when you hold on to perfection do you not evolve. And take it from a perfectionist. Um, and when you let go of loving yourself, when you achieve that perfection, you find yourself achieving perfection in every moment. And because of that, you have no other option but to love what you are. And that's a true relationship with self, not just an idea of, okay, yeah, self love. Okay, yeah, I love myself. Yes, I love myself. Okay, I'll book myself a massage. Okay, I'll get my feet rubbed. It's understanding what makes you tick, and it's undoing the things that give you heart attacks, as Kelsey knows, because you will go into physical shock because the things you've been burying, the things we fear, will scare us to death, and you will have to be up against that threshold, just pushing through it.
Yeah.
To fully connect with that which is on the other side, which is a missing version of you. And when you connect through it, you don't fully pass through, but you connect because it reaches through back at you. And then you both merge in the threshold. And within that threshold becomes a new space. And you become an I am. And you become your own child, the son of God. And you have an identity that is a sub ego. It's not super ego, because super ego is just the ego on another level, but it's sub ego because it's gone into the subconscious realm. It's there before the ego. It is you before you were ego, before you were identity of human. Your higher awareness of all the human stories are accessible to you as the higher self. That's what a higher self is. I have access to that. I'm I don't know why I said that, because I don't like saying that. Um, I guess it was important to say that, Kelsey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Robin's humility allows him to lurk in the shadows way too often, because human version likes it way better. Find someone else to follow. Like woodworking. I really like with my kids.
You're working on it. You're doing that's one of your struggles for sure. I mean, we all, those of us who are close to you and love you, we know it, and we can laugh about it with you, which is great. But yeah, it's you're great. One of your most admirable qualities and one of your greatest holdbacks of yourself. Don't you love it when the tables turn? And
right. Yeah, I own it. Yeah.
but yeah, it's I mean, and isn't that what we get the opportunity to do with our kids? They don't have egos. They're not born with egos. It's literally us reaching it right there in the physical. It's the journey in the physical, if we let it be, if we choose to make it that. And how freaking awesome is that? So that they don't, that we get the healing and the love and the aspect of doing it, but they don't have to turn around and do it on themselves when they're 20, 30, 40, or they don't have to suffer some great injury or traumatic experience because they never had to have that ego exist in that way, because we took the plunge, we chose, we took a chance on ourselves, and we reached out.
Absolutely. And ego is unacknowledged thought forms. And unacknowledged thought forms are bubbles of awareness that didn't get popped, that didn't get explored. And when they get stored, it builds and builds and builds into a big void that must get fulfilled, must be filled, because it calls for it. That's what void does. Can't help it. It's the nature. So, yes, we teach our kids to every bubble that comes up, fear, insecurity, all these ideas, anger, sadness. We allow them to explore every form of idea that comes up, and they will become so proficient that they deal with their own bubbles,
Mm-hmm.
um, with their own observer perspective, and that's, yeah, the ability that Robbins gained, because he looked and looked all his life for someone greater that could teach him something about himself, and he just found theories. And I applied those theories, and some of them were true, but it was through applying the theories that created this initiatory cycle in my life of going through these 7-year cycles of deep emotional healing, and then extroverted sacral energy put into the outer world, and then another 7-year of balancing it all and reunifying it. And it was, yeah, it's very interesting. And everyone will have a pattern in their life, depending on their numbers and who they are and what they're here representing. I'm just a voice box, everyone. I'm not that special. I'm just a certain chakra that was meant to heal and be a megaphone. But megaphone doesn't do anything unless there's someone to speak for, speak to. If there's not an ear to listen and a voice to speak through it, what purpose does the megaphone have?
Yeah.
So, what purpose would my gifts and my abilities have if I wasn't opening myself up to clients? Because it's your higher self, Kelsey, that speaks through that megaphone, and it's your ears as the human that hears the message.
Yeah.
And it's a great privilege to participate as that. Robin needed that in life. It doesn't complete him, but it gives him access to an ever-changing venue of expression. No person is the same. Every 2 or 3 days, there's change occur, and especially on the spiritual journey, there's a lot of change, and then there's a whole new client before me. Kelsey going through all this shock, she's a new individual before me today. There aren't things that need to be held back anymore, because Kelsey has dealt with her boundary, her threshold. So there's no regulation anymore for the megaphone. The volume is at max for you. Um, so we get some great information, and that's why this show has come together, everyone, and that's why we're 242 into it. My gosh, because there's so much information to share with you all about loving yourself as a parent, not beating yourself up because you're worried about everything.
Yeah.
It's a sign of a spiritual individual wanting to do better. And we only believe we have certain choices at hand. That's why we're making bad ones. When we reveal that, oh my gosh, I got a lot of other choices I could be making. And then we start to realize, okay, by making those, I am the decider of my fate.
Mm-hmm.
And this is great. What am I going to decide tomorrow? Should it be entertaining, or should it be heavy and somber? Because you're going to want those days. You're going to want to feel your feelings and allow them to sit for a day or two. And you're not going to want to beat yourself up. So, and that's what's going to give you the charge to really let loose, and shouldn't say let loose, let yourself fully be immersed in the emotional body and watch a comedy or something funny with your kids, or become your own comedy show, as every family is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, this has been wonderful. Robin's right. We just have so much to share with you guys. Thank you for sitting with us and listening with us. And we'll be doing this every week. We really just this is what part of what makes it for us. This is just what excites us, and really our hearts are overfilled with being able to speak with you guys and interact with you guys. So we thank you all very, very much for participating and for listening and for being. And like I said, if you want to reach out if you want to work with Robin, or if you have questions or want information from me. All of our information's in the show notes. My email is familiesunitedin consciousness at Gmail. Robin is robin.nordling@gmail. Is that right? Or is
Yep. RL Nordling.
RL Nordling. It's on auto for me now.
Yeah.
He has his own YouTube channel with some amazing videos, and all of the offerings at galacticinnature.com, definitely worth a checkout. It's cellular level change is available should you choose. So definitely reach out. We love hearing from people. And Robin, thank you. This has been amazing, as always.
Yes, it sure has. Thank you, Kelsey. And yeah, a shout out to Galactic in Nature and all our products we offer there. It's really amazing what we've come together, our divine trinity of individuals sharing our hearts with you. And there's some on-demand courses that you can purchase, and you get to replay them whenever you want, go through it at your own pace, and yes, allow those changes to occur and revisit those. And there's other offerings that'll get you in our space for live tunings, and how to best get you some really good footing in your spiritual application of all these desires and sacral energy coming available to your human right now. And take your human journey seriously, everyone, because the God in you does. And there's nothing more important for you as consciousness to do but be that little old human you believe you are. Because that's the most important thing you can do at this moment. And I recommend everyone to look inward and say, what do I need for my own peace and security? Just build your skills. The food chain is going to be there until it won't. And then when it isn't, when you have the skills, then you're sowing your seeds. It's very expensive to try and produce all your own food, but when it's the trend, because there's no grocery store, you're going to have a lot of help from your neighbors. So start getting that help now. Start learning, start volunteering, get a plot in your community garden, build the skills, and you'll be able to trust in yourself no matter what the outer world does. There's a lot of us, everyone, and we come up with things out of necessity, and a childlike imagination is an endless source of abundant creation right there. So we just need to be not distracted by all the vanity in order for us to create the new world. So it's vain to want it to explode and all the bad guys get theirs and then get a new world. Who's going to give it to us? The ones that pulled the trigger? Because I don't trust them. And ask yourself if you trust someone that's promoting world peace through violence against bad people. Moral compass, you have to ask your own human version, where am I on this planet right now?
Yeah.
If you're a human in your own home, supporting your family, that's where God needs you. So come back down to earth, come back into your center, start providing healthy, good meals for your family that are affordable, and find a way to make healthy food affordable. It's amazing what a relationship will do for you. My wife today, because we are who we are, we form a relationship with the service providers. And at the farmer market, we've formed a friendship with this wonderful young man, Isaac, that's studying political science in university, but he's very aware and he's got a moral compass. So he's very careful. But because of that, my wife is coming home with an abundance, and he's just like, just take it. Not free, but very discounted, and he doesn't need to do that.
Yeah.
And we don't need him to do that. But because we treat him as a human being and we always acknowledge him as a human, there's a relationship and a bond there. So when a human has an opportunity to share love, they take that opportunity. And as a human, we have to be open to receiving love from others.
Yeah.
And this is what Kelsey is teaching me. This is what my brother Greg is teaching me. Eduardo, Laura, all my family in the spiritual realm is teaching me that I can receive love. Yes, I'm worthy of being Robin, but I'm also worthy of being Robin in others' eyes. So I encourage everyone to find their own worthiness in themselves and share who you are, because you're going to be really shocked with how people respond to the genuine version of you. Yes, Daisy, I'm coming. That's nice.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kelsey. This has been a pleasure, and thank you everyone for tuning in for so long. Those of you in other time zones,
Yes, thank you.
have a wonderful sleep and an early morning to everyone. And yes, I'm off to be a part of my dog pack right now.
All right, everyone, take care. Thank you again, and we'll see you next week.